Hello and welcome back to Knits by Lizzie. I am a vegan knitter from New Hampshire, and today I'm very excited to chat with you all about my upcoming knitting plans for the cold weather season for fall and winter. And I am especially excited and ready to chat with you all about this because this summer has been really warm, and in addition to that, it also has been really busy for me with some traveling and work things, and so I have not had that much knitting time and have had like a slight decrease in my knitting mojo, partly because I haven't been able to focus on it as much as I have in the past, and then also because it's been so hot that it just makes me not want to knit as much as when it's colder. And so after having a couple months of the really hot weather and not enough knitting time as I like, I am feeling super ready to dive into a bunch of knitting projects and really spend a lot of time knitting and doing some complicated projects and just like, I don't know, really diving headfirst into it. And so yeah, that makes me just extra joyful to be chatting with you guys about some knitting plans and some patterns that I'm thinking about. I would also love to hear what you guys are thinking about making this upcoming fall and winter for the cold weather. So if you have some ideas of what you want to make, please leave them in the comments and we can all kind of brainstorm together what would be some really fun patterns to make. I think that would be really fun. So if you are interested in chatting about some patterns, please leave a comment and hang out with us as we chat about some knitting. This morning I made a cup of pumpkin spiced chai tea from the Tea Spot, which is phenomenal. If you are a tea drinker, I highly recommend checking that out. And I also made some pumpkin spiced donuts, baked donuts, and then a maple glaze on top of them, and they were so sweet but so tasty. And it's really just like extra put me in the mood to talk about sweaters and fall and all those sorts of things. And the weather has finally turned here in New Hampshire. It's just like all of the stars have aligned and it's time to talk about some knitting. So let's just jump right into it. First, I want to briefly mention what I've already got on the needles that I am going to be finishing up this fall, and then I'm going to dive into some upcoming plans and inspirations of some things that I would like to knit, and I'm going to add to my queue, but of course plans can always change. But yeah, there'll be some patterns that are inspiring me right now. So what I have on my needles right now is two main sweaters, and I've started a gauge swatch for another sweater, but I think I'm pretty set on the yarn I'm going to use for that one, and the yarn's already in stash. So what's on my needles right now is a BookClub Cardigan by Sari Nordlund, which is very close to finished. What I have left is just the sleeves. And the long story short about this beautiful all-over cabled cardigan that I've been obsessed with since it came out is that I started this last early spring, I believe, and it is quite a labor of love. There's a lot of cables, and it does take a long time, but I made a mistake on the sleeves, and I made when I picked up stitches for the sleeves, I picked up like 3 or 4 sizes too like higher in terms of the number of stitches I was picking up, and so the sleeve was just absolutely huge in comparison to what I had made the body with. The proportions were just so wrong, and I had knit most of the sleeve before I kind of realized that this wasn't going to work out, and spent a lot of time knitting that sleeve because I'd picked up so many stitches. And so when I made the decision that I was going to need to frog that sleeve, I had really kind of had it with my BookClub Cardigan whip, and so I put it away for the summer. I think this was last like early June is when I did this. And now I am feeling ready to take my BookClub Cardigan back out and finish it. So that's something that I'm going to be jumping into really quickly here. I haven't frogged it yet, but I think I might even frog it this weekend and jump back into working on those sleeves, because I think especially if I pick up the right number of stitches, it won't take me as long as it had taken me to do the other sleeve. So I'm definitely ready to have that back on the needles and have it for fall, because I'm also knitting it in this dark brown color, which is super fall, and the cables just really add to that sort of vibe. And yeah, it's a really beautiful pattern, and I do really like it. I got mad at it for a little bit, so bringing that back. And then the other pattern that is already on my needles right now is the Ooey Gooey sweater by Andrea Mowry. And this is the Rhinebeck 2025 sweater that she put out, and I am attending Rhinebeck this year. I think on Saturday only, but I am planning on going to the Andrea Mowry meetup, which I'm assuming is going on because I think that usually happens where you take a picture of everyone in their Rhinebeck sweaters. So I am making the Ooey Gooey sweater, which is a circular yoke, I believe. Circular yoke colorwork sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I have a green and brown color changing yarn as my contrast color, and I have decided to use a hand dyed light green color as my main color for the rest of the sweater. So I have just started the collar on that sweater, so I'm just barely getting into it, but that is about to become my main whip with the BookClub Cardigan on the side. And finally, the other concrete plan I have that I've just started to gauge swatch for, and actually I haven't completed the gauge swatch so I can't show it to you yet, is the Rosie Sweater by Lena Holm Samso of LeKnit. And this sweater came out only like a week ago. I bought it the day it came out because I was anticipating it because it's so freaking cute. Last time I checked, it was still on the hot right now list on Ravelry, so I guess other people agree with me that it's so cute. And when I bought the pattern, I of course started thinking about what yarn I wanted to use, and I wanted to use a combination of a fingering plus a mohair. But the main decision I had was the color choices, and I started thinking about it, and I realized that I actually had Cascade Yarns Cherub Sock in a gray color in stash, enough yardage for the sweater, and I also had a black mohair, again with enough yardage for the sweater, and I have left over from my holly sweater that I knit for last Christmas a red yarn, and so I can do a kind of marled gray-black for the main body of the sweater, and and red for the roses in this beautiful sweater. This sweater has a fairly high collar, and then it has 2 rounds of these really pretty rose motifs in colorwork, 2-stranded colorwork around the sweater, and it is actually not a circular sweater. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I believe it's some combination of like drop shoulder plus raglan situation, and so you are not gonna have to do colorwork in this sweater flat. All of the colorwork in the sweater is in the round. I have knit several sweaters by Lena Holm Samso and colorwork sweaters by her, and they have both been drop shoulder colorwork patterns, and so I've had to do flat colorwork knitting in both of those patterns, and so it'll be nice to do a LeKnit pattern that is actually in the round the whole time for the colorwork. I don't mind so much doing the colorwork flat, but it does take slightly more time and slightly more concentration in order to focus on the motifs of the colorwork when I'm knitting flat. So the Rosie sweater is going to be all in the round for those colorwork parts. So yeah, that's my vision right now, is kind of like a grayish black for the main body with red roses, and I'm hoping that the vibe is more like classy rather than goth, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be beautiful no matter what, and just like a really fun thing to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if I end up making another one of those at some point for my sister. Her middle name is Rose, and I think it's not only fitting because of her name, but also it's very much her aesthetic, her vibe, and so I think if I made them in a really like cute girly colors that she would really like it. Some sort of like off pink for the roses, and then maybe like a white and off pink or something like that. I think my sister would really like that. So I might make a second one of them if I enjoy making this first one for myself. So those are the things that I have on my needles right now that I'm going to be knitting immediately. But I do already have some things in mind for the rest of the fall and winter. So now let's dive into some plans and inspiration. So first of all, for this upcoming season, I definitely want to make another sweater for my partner, for my boyfriend, and I want to make him a slightly more basic sweater. I made him the last sweater I made him was the Billy pullover by Sari Nordlund, which is a beautiful design, but it is all over cables, and it was a lot of work, and so I think I think I want to make him a more basic sweater, and I think he'll actually wear it a bit more if it's slightly more basic. He hasn't really worn his Billy pullover that much, and I think it might be that it's harder to throw on, I think, compared to a more like sweatshirty style of sweater, and so I think that's going to be the vibe that I'm going to go for his sweater this year. And so I'm either going to make the rib stitch sweater, which is, I believe it's drop shoulder construction, and it is all over broken rib stitch, or I'm going to make another sort of just basic drop shoulder sweater for him. I do have the Oslo sweater pattern by PetiteKnit, and so I might use that pattern, which I already own, which is just a very basic drop shoulder design. I might use, you know, shop my my pattern stash and use that pattern and just go up a few sizes for one that would fit him, and make a drop shoulder sweater for him. So in both cases, I think I want to go for the drop shoulder sweater construction because he has a drop shoulder style t-shirt that I think looks really good on him. I think it fits him really well. So I think that's the kind of construction I want to go for rather than a raglan. I think that a drop shoulder might fit his body more than a raglan shaped sweater. So I think that's what I'm going to go for right now. I definitely would love to hear if you have made a basic sweater pattern for a man that you really, really like that fits really well. That's like designed for men's shoulders and all that sorts of stuff. If you've got some really good experience with a sweater pattern for men, I would love to hear what you guys have experienced. Next on my list is that I would really love to make a all over cabled white sweater, like a kind of classic fisherman's style looking sweater for myself this winter. I have made a cabled sweater for myself before, which was the Arctic Light sweater by Veronica Lindberg, which is an incredible design that comes with a full detailed tutorial on YouTube to make that. So I highly recommend the Arctic Light sweater. But I made it in a grayish color, and to be honest, I didn't choose the perfect yarn for it. I chose a pretty thin DK weight, and to be honest, it probably needed more like a worsted, and so I really want a pretty thick, cozy cabled sweater out of a worsted weight yarn, and this time in a white color, just really classic, pair with everything kind of sweater is what I really want to make. And so I'm thinking either the Belle&Sebastian pullover by Sari Nordlund, or maybe the Cara sweater by LeKnit. You guys know that I'm on this crazy LeKnit craze, and I've been making all of her stuff. So maybe I should branch out a bit, but I do love all of her designs. So those are the two patterns I have in mind right now for that sort of classic looking, all over cabled fisherman style sweater, and I think it's gonna be so much fun to really just dive into and be really squishy. I think for the yarn for whichever pattern I end up choosing for that, I'm gonna go with a probably Cascade Yarn Sarasota worsted, which is an acrylic and cotton blend, and I think that the cotton in that yarn is really gonna make the cables like pop out really well and have really good stitch definition. I used the DK weight version of Sarasota to make my Saga Cardigan by LeKnit, which I really loved that pattern, but I also really enjoyed working with that yarn, and so I think I'm gonna get some sort of white colorway of Cascade Yarns Sarasota worsted for that cable sweater. Another garment that I am fairly set on making this upcoming cold weather season is doing a all over colorwork steeked cardigan, and I did make a video last spring where I went into a Ravelry search mode and to look at some steeked cardigan patterns on Ravelry, and I think right now I'm most likely going to be making the Saga Cardigan, which is a free pattern, I believe, and I would like to do it in some sort of green toned colorways, green and brown toned colorways. I think that would really suit my sort of aesthetic. I'm wearing green right now. Do love to wear a lot of green. So that's the colorways that I think, the sort of vibe that I think I'm going to go for. I have such a hard time choosing colors, so I'll probably reach out to you all on Instagram to help me with the color choices when I get there. But I really do want to try steeking because I've never done it before, and I do want to dive into some techniques this year, some knitting techniques this year that I haven't done before. And that was one of my goals that I set at the beginning of 2025 that I have not actually done yet. I wanted to try either brioche or steeking or both of them, and I haven't done any of that. So for sure I want to try to do a steeked cardigan this upcoming fall or winter, probably more towards winter that I'll do that. So as of right now, I am leaning towards the Saga cardigan for that project. And finally, another more concrete plan that I have is to make another Christmas sweater this upcoming year. I spent most of last November working on the Holly sweater by Pernilla Larsen so that I would have it for all of December to wear, and it was so much fun, not only to just get me into the Christmas spirit in November, but then it was so like rewarding to wear it around in December because it's such a cute sweater, but just to have that joy of I'm wearing this really cute Christmas sweater that I made myself was super fun. That also was that pattern was the first time I had worked with a mohair and fingering together, and so that kind of blew my mind. But the pattern itself was also really good. And the reason why it was really good was because it said Christmas, but it didn't yell Christmas. And I think that's what I want for my Christmas sweater this upcoming year, is a Christmas sweater that is like a hint of Christmas, but isn't like super in your face Christmassy. I just find that a lot more wearable. So I think that's what I want to go for this year. And the main pattern that I'm thinking of for my Christmas sweater this year is the Santa Baby pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, but despite the name, it actually isn't super duper Christmassy. So it is, I believe it's another circular yoke sweater, but the colorwork motif is just a few rows of trees, and so I think depending on your color choices, you can make it really, really Christmassy or not so Christmassy. And I don't know exactly what colors I would do yet. The pattern photo is this cream with green, which I think is really, really pretty, but that would look kind of similar to my Holly sweater, which is also a cream and then a little bit of color work in the yoke, and so they might match a little bit too much. Maybe I would do a red for the base and then white, but then that might be a little bit too Christmassy. But it would be fun to have a red sweater. So I need to think a little bit more about the exact colors that I would do. I could play around with a dark blue and a white for the trees. That would be really pretty, and actually it would be pretty wearable even past Christmas into the just regular winter time, because it would be just kind of like a wintry vibe. That might be the way to go. It's like a navy, like a dark navy midnight sort of color, and a white for the trees. I think that would be really, really pretty. So yeah, we need to do some thinking on the colors there, but I'm pretty sure that that's the sweater pattern that I'm gonna go for my Christmas sweater this year, that I'm gonna cast on in November and knit all through November and wear it in December. And now, since I made my Holly sweater last year, I get to wear my Holly sweater too throughout Christmas. So I'll have two handmade sweaters to wear to Christmassy things this year, which is going to be super fun. And I'm also planning on hosting Christmas at my house for my family this year, which will be the first time I've ever hosted Christmas. And so even though it's barely September, I am already like super excited for Christmas this year. And so I have a feeling that I'm probably going to be making some accessory gift knits this upcoming fall for Christmas. But I am planning on doing slightly less gift knitting than I did last year. I ended up doing a decent amount of gift knitting for Christmas, but then also like right after Christmas, there was some kind of like requests that came up when I was home for Christmas. And so I was knitting some things for people right when I got back from Christmas, and so I went from gift knitting for Christmas to immediately continuing to gift knit, and it was a little bit too much gift knitting for me, I think. And so this year I want to sort of balance my gift knitting with knitting for myself, which I definitely am more motivated to knit for myself than for others, to be honest. So I do want to make sure I find a better balance of that, and just like make sure that I'm always really enjoying the pattern that I'm making, you know? But I think some accessories can be super fun and rewarding. And so I might do some colorwork mittens, or I could do brioche hat. I could do a brioche hat for someone to practice my brioche and make a really beautiful thing. I think that Andrea Mowry has some brioche knitting patterns where you do two colors, and if you have two different color changing yarns, you can make like these really gorgeous sort of like mosaic colored hats that are really beautiful. And so I might play around with a little bit of that, but we shall see. Even though this is not a huge list of patterns, I think it is a very achievable plans for this upcoming fall and winter, and I think I'm starting to finally learn not to put too much on my knitting plate, because inevitably what happens is that a designer will release a beautiful pattern that I will want to jump right into, or a designer will release a test knit call that I really want to jump into, and I want to be sure to not be sort of bogged down by my plans or my queue, and have the freedom to jump on those things when I want to. So I'm keeping the plans light this year, but I think for the, you know, the 6 months that spans fall and winter, I think that these are very, very achievable plans, and I'm really excited for all of them. So that brings us to the end today. Again, I would love to hear what you all are thinking about for knitting for this upcoming season. In addition to all these sweaters, I'm going to be making a lot of socks, kind of on the go as all of these are going on. So I would love to hear about your guys' sock knitting mojo, how that is going, and all those sorts of things. So with that, I'm going to send lots of big hugs to everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye!